Welcome to Pulse episode 84. In this episode we have a look at what was said about the Diablo 3 Beta during the Activision Blizzard conference call that happened on May the 9th, some talk about traits, spell animations and builds, art and video updates, and much more. Let's get started. So I'll start the news off with something that I'm sure the whole internet's already talking about, the Diablo 3 Beta. During today's Activision Blizzard conference call, Mike Morhaime did announce that they were, quite sadly, aiming to start external beta testing during quarter 3 of 2011. They did not give any more details about when exactly the test will begin or when we'll hear more information about it. Mike also said that they began internal company-wide testing last week and the game is looking great. Which is good to hear, I guess. As we always seem to hear, they just said that they are in fact working hard to get the game launched in 2011, although that is looking far less likely now. There was some confusion about when quarter 3 actually began. Bashiok clarified it all, though, by saying the following. The third quarter reference in the earnings call today was a calendar quarter, meaning that we're aiming to launch the Diablo 3 Beta between July the 1st and September the 30th. Keep in mind, that's our current goal, and of course that can change as development continues. So yes, I guess a little part of all the hardcore Diablo fans out there died during the conference call today. On the bright side, July is not that far off. Anyway, read more about that below. Not much more though. The Smithsonian Museum in the US is running an exhibit on the art of video games, featuring 80 different games from the 40-year history of the medium. The guys from the museum put 240 games up for public voting, and over 3 million votes later, they were left with those 80 titles. Blizzard has 3 of its franchises, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and yes, this being the Diablo news episode, Diablo is in the mix too, with Diablo 2. Interestingly enough, World of Warcraft was one of the top 5 voted and, as such, will be playable from the exhibit. Pretty neat. Do you want to see what Diablo, StarCraft or Warcraft art is set to be featured at the exhibit? Well, you'll just have to wait, sadly, as the show isn't on until next year. It's going to run from March the 16th, 2012 until September the 30th, 2012 in the 3rd floor north of the American Art Museum. Below you can check the full list of the games being featured out, along with a nice Q&A with the curator of the whole thing. Quite cool, worth a peek. IT website War Productions recently posted a short interview with Frank Pierce of Blizzard Entertainment. In said interview, Frank had quite a bit to say on World of Warcraft Cataclysm, as he always seems to, but there were a few snippets that all the other Diablo, or rather just Blizzard fans out there would appreciate, such as one about Blizzard's approach to gaming via mobile phones and non-PC products. He said that Blizzard and everyone working there have so many great ideas that when it comes time to execute, they just don't have the resources to do everything they would like to do. What I found the most interesting part was him saying that when they look at social networking platforms and mobile platforms, it's more about identifying ways they can enhance the experience of their primary PC gaming experiences and build around that for right now. A really interesting interview and well worth checking out. Big thanks to Diablo Inc. gamers for finding it and bringing it to light. Enjoy. Just a couple of days ago, a fan brought up the traits Just Stay Dead, Demon's Bane and Beast Hunter, claiming that all 3 of them were in fact useless, since they all increase damage against just one of the 3 types of monster, beast, demon or undead. Needless to say, Bashiok did reply, and to many readers' surprise, he agreed. He said the following. We agree, and they were removed from our traits a while back. Not that you could have known that, so yay. We don't want traits, passives, to be boring. Even the ones that are pretty bland stat increase type passives, we try and make them feel weighty. Trait points are fairly rare, so that lets us make each point feel a lot sexier to spend. Even if they're just the standard plus percentage stat passives, they're big plus percentage increases. But there's also a lot of traits that are fairly intricate in what they provide, and to no small degree can be game changers. Either way, they'll be a crucial component to any character build. That does indeed sound great, and it would be a big change from some of Blizzard's other games. The fan did want more after that though, and asked about 2 other traits, Lucky and Intimidation. Lucky providing an increase to Gold Bind, and sadly, Bashiok was unable to place Intimidation at the time, saying it may have been removed. I think we can all agree that the way Blizzard are going about setting up the traits does indeed sound pretty good though, as every level you gain is actually going to be more exciting and something to look forward to. So if you want to know more about the trait system and all these apparent useless traits removals, you know where to look. Sticking with the Bashiok sightings for a second here, he was also recently, just last week, spotted jumping into another couple of threads on the Battle.net forums. The first was a pretty short reply to a much longer rant about Diablo 3's visuals. Yes, this again. At least this one was a little different. He said, while providing a bunch of screenshots, specifically of the Witch Doctor's Firebat skill, as his proof, that Diablo 3's visuals looked too busy. Bashiok replied with the following: "I don't find them to be very noisy. They're in a controlled cone directly in front of you. It's quite different than littering the screen with moving minions." That was obviously directly aimed at the Firebat skill, but still, quite a strange thing to be whining about if you ask me. Next up, Bashiok just jumped into one of many, I would guess, "What build are you planning?" threads on the Battle.net forums. He said the following: "Well, currently I've sort of been thinking about a Whirlwind build. Not super original, I know, but Whirlwind is a draggable skill now. You can control it by holding down the mouse button and directing yourself around. Same as walking around, although it's a slower turn radius, which makes it way more awesomer, obviously. The offset is a choose through fury like whoa. I want to see if it's possible to make a viable infinite fury regen build to feed it. Ideally, truly infinite fury isn't possible, but the bigger challenge is the viable bit. Stacking regen is possible, but potentially sacrificing damage output or reduction could make it really boring or just unusable. Always great to see the Blizzard guys talking like gamers, and I guess one can see that even they are excited for Diablo 3. From what he said, one can only assume Whirlwind will be working a little differently now too, which is quite interesting. So if you want to know more and want to read those full interactions, you can check the links below or head on over to Diablo Inc. Gamers. In our video and or YouTube updates, we have, as we always seem to have, some really interesting stuff. First up, we have the latest, 8th Diablo Cast episode. In this 41-minute Diablo news and talk marathon, Force, Sixen and Cyberdragon talk about the recent Jay Wilson interview and what it means for the series, the big May 9th conference call, and much more. As always, a great listen if you have the time, so check that out right here on YouTube. Force from over at the new all-encapsulating Force Strategy Gaming has a cool new giveaway up that all you Diablo fans out there will most definitely appreciate. What is it, you ask? Well, he's giving away 3 Diablo 3 Special Edition t-shirts. Winners will be selected at random, and all you need to do is like and favorite the video, leave a comment, and obviously subscribe. Lastly, Force just urges all of us to spread the word. The more participation they get in these giveaways, the more often they can do them. Sounds good to me. Check that out right here on YouTube. And in the last of the updates from Force, yes, there seem to be quite a few, we have the latest Purgatory episode for May the 5th. In this, he talks about Diablo 3 in the New York Times, the lack of bind-on-equip items in Diablo 3, the Necromancer's confirmed return, a little more on the beta and the May 9th conference call, and much more. Well worth checking out if you want a slightly different perspective on the latest Diablo 3 news out there. Enjoy that right here on YouTube. Next up, we have the Diablo Podcast, the 6th episode of the always interesting and always informative podcast series from the guys over at Diablo Inc. Gamers. In this latest episode, Flux has an interview with Raithos, cosplay creator and partner to Rampaging Coconut at AAAcosplay.com. Now, if you don't know who they are, they actually wore his and hers Witch Doctor costumes to BlizzCon 2010, and Rampaging Coconut was one of the 5 onstage finalists that lost out to Christina Estrada's female monk outfit. Still, most definitely quite an impressive feat, and it seems like the two of them do indeed have quite a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. You can check the full thing out in the links below. Then we have the Diablo Podcast episode 7. Yes, they seem to be churning these out faster than we can listen to them at this point. So, as you may remember, it has been at least a couple of weeks since that great preview of Diablo 3 appeared in the New York Times. And like most of us, Flux from Diablo Inc. Gamers enjoyed the piece. So, being the resourceful and cunning fox that he is, he managed to track down the author, Seth Schiesel, for an interview. He said that he went into the interview hoping to talk about his background in gaming, how he got to write for the New York Times, and the most important and most interesting part, his trip to Blizzard headquarters in Irvine. Now you will be glad to know that he got that, all of that and more. So if you're not convinced yet, Flux says there are numerous behind the scenes details about that visit to Blizzard, his time playing Diablo 3 and his interview with Jay Wilson. It does indeed sound too good to be true. Check below to stream the whole thing or get it via iTunes, and don't hesitate to let me know what you think of it. First up in the art updates, we have the latest batch of Facebook like updates. In this 15th update, that was actually meant to happen at 900,000 likes, but was released slightly early at 895,000, which we're obviously grateful for. We got quite a lot of new stuff. The piece of artwork we received this week, or in this update, was done by Gloway and is of Diablo. We did actually see this for the first time at BlizzCon last year, as it was used on the BlizzCon 2010 poster. A great image and well worth checking out in full size. The guys over at Diablo Fans have also been wondering, or at least speculating, about what seems to be an extra mouth on Diablo's left shoulder, or at least the shoulder on the left hand side in the image. Have Diablo, Baal and Mephisto merged into one being? Who knows, but it is something to think about. We were also given 2 screenshots to look at this week. First up is one of a wizard running through that unknown dungeon we've been seeing so much of recently, and the second is from the pretty short outdoor area featured in the BlizzCon 2010 demo. In this one, the Demon Hunter is using her Fan of Knives ability. If you're interested in checking any of those out in full size, you can do so below. Also, remember to pay a visit to the Diablo Facebook fan page and give it a like if you haven't already. Next, and sadly lastly in the art updates, we have Fan Art Watch number 91, and in this post, monks. Lots and lots of monks. There's most definitely something for everyone here. Cartoony, sketches, slightly more realistic. Yes, everything. Check the links below to find all of those in full size, courtesy of Diablo Inc. Gamers and their wonderful fan art forums. Now let's head on over to the Diablo 3 Smalls. In the Smalls this week from Diablo Inc. Gamers, you can read about how the Diablo Twitter account was teasing about Unicorn Day. You can read the now fully transcribed Jay Wilson interview from Diablo3.cc, Matt Uelman's Torchlight 2 music debuts. There's a poll up about what we'll see on Unicorn Day, which you can just check out for interest's sake because Unicorn Day was actually meant to be May the 9th. Then next up, over at Diablo Fans, there's a poll about Diablo 3 locations. And lastly, on YouTube, you can see the history of Blizzard Entertainment Part 4 and 5. Sadly, that is all I have for you in Pulse episode 84. No beta this week, what a pity. We will survive though, as there was at least some other pretty interesting news. As usual, like the video, favorite it, share it with your friends and subscribe. Most importantly though, no, not really that happy today.